What's up, Guardians? Peace and Grease here, and today we're going to ruffle some feathers, and you know how much I enjoy that. Today I want to ask the question, should big content creators and streamers have a responsibility to check with the community prior to having something removed? Or should I say campaigning to have something removed? Now, let's be real here. Obviously, for 99% of topics, big content creators and streamers don't have to bother checking with the community. In fact, credit where credit is due. I think about 80% of the time, big content creators and streamers are very good at identifying problems and issues in the game, moreover, at how to fix them. And again, I'm more than willing to give them credit for that. But something happened a little while ago which definitely concerned me, and that is skill-based matchmaking. Now, make no mistake, I am under no illusion that skill-based matchmaking is coming back. It's not. It's gone. And big content creators and streamers ran an absolutely magnificent campaign to have it removed. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. I mean, it's better than some politicians that I've seen. They all gathered in their echo chamber. They all passed around notes for talking points. Fantastic job. I mean, very precise. Very well done. But I'm reminded of two quotes in this situation. Quotes you're probably familiar with. The first is, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. The many would be, the average players. They make up 90% of the community, without which we wouldn't even have a Destiny 2 game. The few, of course, would be your big content creators and streamers. But it definitely seemed as if they reversed that. It seemed as if some big content creators and streamers out there feel that the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many. It reminds me of another quote. With great power comes great responsibility. Most of you may recognize this from Spider-Man, but actually it was Winston Churchill. And I'm really not seeing any responsibility at all in this particular case. Now, look, the reality is this is the gaming industry in a nutshell. Again, whether you agree or disagree, a developer's best advertisers are their big content creators and streamers. The more content they make, the more that they stream, the more likely players are to continue to watch and eventually play. So it's only natural that developers are going to try to pander or cater to these big content creators and streamers. Again, it's just natural. This is why some of these big content creators and streamers will be given special privileges, sneak peeks, early access, and those are things that you and I will never get. Again, whether you agree or disagree, that is the gaming industry in a nutshell. Now, with that being said, the thing that disturbs me the most about all of this is that think of one big content creator or streamer that made a video on skill-based matchmaking, but actually got the community's opinion on skill-based matchmaking. Just name one. I'll save you the trouble. There wasn't a single solitary one that actually made a video. Not one. In fact, if you really want to hear how sickening this got, I'm not going to put the channel's name out there. And I will not confirm or deny whether or not who you think it is, it is. This was a big content creator and streamer, someone that I actually used to have a lot of respect for. Somebody that I used to watch a lot of their content. Obviously, no longer. But in one of his streams, he was going on a tirade about why skill-based matchmaking needed to be removed, the same exact talking points, again. And an absolute Chad in his chat, a legend in his chat, said, no, skill-based matchmaking is good for the majority of your community, of your average players. It's not good for big content creators and streamers. This big content creator and streamer sat there looking like a deer in headlights. Lost, confused, no rebuttal, no response, no counterpoints, sat there looking absolutely lost before he finally cracked out with, well, you just need to get good, just get on my level. Now, look, I probably don't have to tell you, and this is a side note, what kind of absolute POS piece of scum you truly have to be to say something like that, when you know full well that 99% of players will never be able to play Destiny 2 as a job. Most players are going to have to work 8, 10, 12 hours a day, come home, spend time with their family. Maybe they get 20, 30 minutes to play the game before they have to rinse and repeat the whole cycle over again. Maybe they get 2 hours on the weekends. They're never going to be able to get on that, quote, level of being able to spend 8, 10, 12 hours playing the game as a job. They're never going to get there. And I'm sorry if I bash some of your dreams, but that's the reality. So you have to be a real douche canoe to say something like that, knowing that it's never going to happen for the majority of people in this game. That's the reality. But again, I digress. So I want to talk about the brilliant campaign. And let me be clear, when I'm talking about big content creators and streamers, if you never made a video on the removal of skill-based matchmaking, I'm not referring to you. You're not included in this conversation. I'm only referring to big content creators and streamers that made videos on the removal of skill-based matchmaking. That's it. Okay? Now, unfortunately, some big content creators and streamers told out-and-out lies as talking points for the removal of skill-based matchmaking, and just downright idiotic talking points. And so I want to kind of talk on those to really illustrate why I would ask the question, should they have the responsibility to check with the community first? So the first bald-faced lie that they told was they insinuated that with the removal of skill-based matchmaking, we could potentially get dedicated servers. Now again, if you have half a brain cell, you already know this is BS. One has nothing to do with the other. For years in D1, we asked for dedicated servers. Never got them. For years in D2, we've asked for dedicated servers. Never got them. Prior to skill-based matchmaking, we asked for dedicated servers. Never got them. During skill-based matchmaking, we asked for dedicated servers. Never got them. After skill-based matchmaking, we asked for dedicated servers. Drum roll, please. We never got them. The reality is that for the foreseeable future, we're not getting dedicated servers. Who knows? Maybe Destiny 4 or 5 will get dedicated servers. Who knows what the future holds? But in the very near future, we're not getting dedicated servers. And it has nothing to do with skill-based matchmaking. The next bald-faced lie that was told was that with the removal of skill-based matchmaking, it would reduce laggy players. This is, again, if you have half a brain cell, you know is a bald-faced lie. Guess what? Prior to skill-based matchmaking, I encountered laggy players. During skill-based matchmaking, I encountered laggy players. After skill-based matchmaking, drum roll please, I encountered laggy players. The reality is this, and again, most of you already know it. Until every square inch of this planet is covered in a network, we're always going to have laggy players. We're always going to have players that are on bad equipment. We're always going to have players that are going to be using McDonald's Wi-Fi. We always are. And this isn't just Destiny 2. This is any online game. And it's going to take many, many years and probably trillions of dollars or more to cover the entire planet in a network. That's just the reality. Again, one has nothing to do with the other. Now, the one that really bothered me the most is that I heard an absolutely moronic talking point by some big content creators and streamers that, hey, my matches are too sweaty. Now look, again, most of you with the brain cell already know how absolutely absurd this sounds. So I'm going to relay it. For those of you that don't potentially see why it's so stupid, I'm going to relay it in a very real world experience, my own personal experience. This isn't me bragging. I'm not being braggadocious. I'm trying to illustrate how absolutely asinine it is, okay? Back when I was younger, before I destroyed my knee, I was a wrestler, okay? In fact, I was ranked first, Greco-Roman, second in freestyle, all right? I only lost my freestyle ranking match because my practice before my freestyle match, the guy I was wrestling at practice put me in a leg lace. I posted out, refused to give, and went my knee. Went and talked to a specialist who said, yeah, we can do surgery, but it's going to take months of rehabilitation, and you're never going to get back to the point you were before your injury. Great. So what did I do? I wrapped up my knee to the point of cutting off circulation, and I did my freestyle match. My opponent, seeing a weakness, took advantage of it. And you know what? I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. In competitive situations, you take advantage of an enemy's weakness. You always do. That's reality. But now imagine in that setting if I had said, you know, coach, you know, I know this is my decision. It was my choice to be here. It's my choice to do this. Nobody forced me. Nobody twisted my arm. I did this of my own free will. But you know what? My matches are too sweaty. They're too tough. I mean, I know I'm going for like ranking. And so in competitive terms, like it's always going to be tougher the better and better you get and the higher you get in ranking. That's just a reality. But you know, because my matches are so sweaty, I don't like it. So here's what I want to do. I want to make it somebody else's problem. I think I saw some 5th graders out in the hall. Can you drag them in here and just let me beat the ever-loving living tar out of them? Because, you know, let's make it their problem, even though it's my problem. How idiotic does that sound? Pretty stupid, doesn't it? Yeah, to say the least. But this is the same type of logic, or lack thereof, that some of these big content creators and streamers were using. That the community should have to fix their problem. Of course your matches are sweaty, big content creators and streamers. You're sweaty. The people you're going to compete against are sweaty. You can't brag about being the best in PvP or the best in trials or having the best KD or getting the most trials wins or the most trials kills. At the same time you go, my match is too sweaty. That's what happens in any kind of competitive field. That's the reality of it. That's natural. That's what's going to happen. If you can't deal with it, if you can't cope with it, stop playing. It's just that simple. You don't make it somebody else's problem. It's your problem. Now, some big content creators and streamers are going to say, well, you know, my community has no problem with me saying that skill-based matchmaking should be removed. Of course, Weinstein. You're in a position of power. Of course you're going to have little sheeple that are going to agree with everything that you say. Of course, if you say that the sky is red and the grass is blue, people are going to be like, true, in your chat. That doesn't mean anything. Another thing that they're going to say is that, oh, well, we don't want skill-based matchmaking removed so we can pick on lower skill players. Well, let's examine that statement and see whether or not it's true or false, shall we? Let's just look at the facts. So what happens with skill-based matchmaking? You were paired with players of a similar skill. Okay. What happens with the removal of skill-based matchmaking? You're paired with lower skill players. So how can you say you don't want to play against lower skill players, but yet by campaigning to have skill-based matchmaking removed, that's precisely what you're going to get? How can you say you don't want that when that's exactly what you're getting? It's a lot like taking the tub of butter out of the refrigerator and saying, well, I don't want butter. And then opening the butter and going, well, dang, it's butter. Well, yeah, you got it out of the fridge, moron. And you opened it. What did you think was in there? Jewels? Money? It's butter. That's exactly what you're going to get. It makes no sense to say you don't want something when that's precisely what you're going to get. Now look, I'm willing to cut some of these big content creators and streamers some slack. Look, I have a small, shitty little YouTube channel, all right? And I've gotten a taste, good and bad, of being a content creator, all right? And some of these things I've had to learn the hard way is that when you can make a video and you can show every solitary second of what you're doing in a video game, but guess what? It's boring. And if you check that video's analytics, you'll find out pretty quickly, most people never finish the video. They click off, they click away because they're bored. The best way to think about your videos and how to edit them is you want to have spicy, exciting clips after clips after clips. Kind of like, imagine a TikTok, but it's just TikTok after TikTok in rapid succession, right after another. This is going to keep players engaged, or players. This is going to keep people engaged. It's going to keep people watching. People are going to more than likely watch the entire video. That's how you need to kind of look at your videos and how you edit them. For this reason, this is why I said that some big content creators and streamers wanted skill-based matchmaking removed for selfish reasons. Let's look at the facts. If a big content creator or streamer wanted to do a stupid gun review video or a stupid build review video, and they're going against similarly skilled players, well, guess what? They can't run a non-meta loadout. They can't take risks or challenges because they could potentially lose the match. The matches are going to be slower paced, and the videos are going to be just boring, more boring. However, let's look at that same situation, but instead put it in a match with lower skilled players. Now, these big content creators and streamers can run non-meta loadouts. They can take big chances and big risks for those amazing spicy clips. And they're easier to get. Now look, something I kind of want to touch on, and I think it's something that many of these big content creators and streamers have forgotten, is why do you think the average player jumps into a Crucible match? To do a bounty? To do an exotic quest or a catalyst? Maybe they just want to get some Crucible loot or advance their rank. They're not there to set the world on fire. They're not there to get the best KD ever. They're not there to be the best PvP player ever. They're just there to do a damn bounty. So what do you think the result is when they jump into a match and they go, oh, look, I've got a big content creator or streamer on the other team, and I'm going against a stacked team now, and I can't win this match. I don't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning this match. They can't even leave the match. Because if they do, what happens if they leave the match early? Bungie punishes them. As if all of that isn't bad enough, you have to sit there and take the pummeling, and then you're immortalized in a video clip and humiliated. And they just wanted to do a bounty. My question for many of these big content creators and streamers is, how many players do you personally think you've chased out of Crucible? Now, the dishonest ones are going to say, well, none. Well, dishonest or stupid. They'll tell you none. Intentions be damned. The reality is you've chased players out of Crucible, whether it was your intention or not. That's the reality. All right? Now, big content creators and streamers are playing the game differently than the community. That's the reality here. And I think big content creators and streamers need to be reminded that your way of playing the game is not the only way. It's not. Just because you play the game differently doesn't mean it's the only right way. And again, intentions be damned. When you jump into a match with lower skill players, they're there to have fun. That's it. And maybe that's a word you've forgotten over the years. Maybe you've forgotten that that's why they're there. But just because they're playing the game to have fun doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean the way they play it is wrong. It just means it's different. And again, intentions be damned. Whether you meant to do it or not, you are impacting the way these average players are having fun in the game. Again, I think that's something that kind of really needs to be reminded. So, again, my hope with this video and to raise this question is that in the future, hopefully, if there's ever a big system that big content creators or streamers are campaigning to have removed, whether it's for selfish reasons or otherwise, that the community pushes back, like that legend, like that Chad and that streamer I mentioned earlier. My hope is that maybe some of these big content creators and streamers will stop and say, wait, before we start this campaign, what does the community think about it? Because I truly believe that if a single one of these big content creators or streamers had taken just a minute to ask the community their thoughts on skill-based matchmaking, they would have gotten a completely different perspective. Of course, now it doesn't matter and they'll never know. But again, this is a really good lesson to be learned for certain. Now look, I'm old enough to be all of these big content creators and streamers' daddy. All right? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean legitimately. Like I was, when their mamas were running around, I was the guy they were running around with. I'm Gen X. So, I'm just saying, a few of them could potentially, I'm just saying. Maybe some of y'all should be calling me daddy is all I'm saying, maybe, I digress. And of course, I'm joking. I'm about 60% certain I'm not your daddy. But feel free to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Am I wrong? Am I right? Or am I right on? And until next time, peace out.